Hi, hello, welcome to Special Show. నేను మీ కాజల్ అండ్ ఈ రోజు మన స్పెషల్ షోలో మనతో పాటు ఉన్నారు Sye Raa మూవీ స్టైలిస్ట్ ఉత్తరా మెనన్ గారు. ఆవిడ ఎవరో కాదు, వండర్ఫుల్ డైరెక్టర్ గౌతమ్ మెనన్ సిస్టర్. సో ఆవిడతో మాట్లాడి ఆవిడ మూవీ విశేషాలు తెలుసుకుందాం. Hello ma'am.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, Hari, congratulations. Getting a wonderful response for your movie.
Thank you.
So how are you taking it and how are you feeling?
I'm so glad that all that hard work that the entire team had put in has seen its result, and that's great. We knew it's going to be a big hit. So
Okay.
It's bigger than big, I'm sure.
I actually can see that on your face, you know. It's a huge project, you know, like working with legendary. So how did you get this offer?
I've done some films in Tamil, and I was recognized for my first film itself for the kind of styling and costumes I did. I had to dress up actress Trisha for her role as a Bharatanatyam dancer.
Oh.
So a little bit of classic elements came into that look, and I have been working with Rajivan Nambiyar, the production designer of Sye Raa, and all the films that I've done from my first film. So when he had finished a few meetings in Hyderabad regarding Sye Raa, and he understood what the story needed in terms of colors and costumes, he asked me if I would style the film for him. And so I said yes. At that time I didn't know what I was getting into. Then he conveyed that to them, and we had a couple of meetings back and forth. I met Mr. Ramcharan, the director, and everybody, and when we came to an understanding that yes, this can happen, I started the work on the film.
They are legendary actors like Amitabh Bachchan sir and Chiranjeevi garu. So you working in this movie, was it stressful?
Very stressful in the sense of that when I had to start sketching for Mr. Chiranjeevi, it was a huge task in the sense that we're trying to portray a character who lived in the 1800s. So he has to have that very period look. Surely they would have had long hair and the facial hair to go with it, and the kind of clothes they wear with the dhoti style and the angaraka and everything had to come in.
Right.
And at the same time, it was not just any other actor that we had to put this look on.
Right.
It was Mr. Chiranjeevi himself. So we needed to get him to like what we are going to, put out there.
Right.
So a lot of back and forth happened, right? We did many hairstyles itself for him. We spent a long time just trying to figure out a hairstyle for him.
Oh.
And we were trying to keep it as authentic to the time period as possible. So a lot of the hairstyles were working in that sense, but not working for him. Now he also had to be happy. The fans have to love him.
Right.
It had to be a fabulous look. At the
Right.
same time, we're trying to keep it authentic. So it was a big challenge for me and for our team. We all worked on it together. Rajivan roped in some amazing concept artists and art directors, and we all sat around and bounced off ideas, and it was a roller coaster ride, I can say. Finally, I think it was the director who gave us one very important tip.
Okay.
He said, make them look like Vikings.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we got really excited. We were like, wow, Vikings is like, hardcore men with really long hair and beards and mustaches, and there's no end to what we could do with their hair and face.
Right.
So then that is when the hero's look turned out beautifully well. We gave him a little like a kudumi and let the hair down, and we
Right.
gave all that extensions of beards and things like that.
Right.
And everybody was pleased with the look. And with Mr. Bachchan as well, he is who he is, and he's a guru in an ashram, and he trains youngsters into martial arts and yoga and meditation. So he had to have a very ethereal look about him. He had to look almost godly, saintly, and just getting the right hair, even that tilak that he had to wear, how should it look on him? It has to suit his persona as well.
Okay.
And he has to carry it off as well. He has to be comfortable in what he's wearing because it's all draped and things like that. So we had to make sure that we made the look comfortable and fabulous for our costume designers to carry out the design process comfortably.
Everything, every single thing you need to observe very keenly. So you have to be very keen, right?
Yeah, so the thing is, we decided between the team and, the team decided that we will make sure that we keep it as authentic as possible to that time period. We can take some cinematic liberties. We can cheat here and there because it's a movie at the end of the day, but it is a biopic. It is a true story pretty much. So we tried as much as possible to keep it to that time period. So the research that went into it was huge. So we had a solid team of designers from NIFT. We had our art directors, concept artists. So we went all out to find out about that period.
Okay.
So be it the Britishers, be it the tribal communities, the villagers who lived in the time, and of course the main characters in the film. Everything was researched from head to toe. What jewelry the women wore, what kind of ornaments they wore on their feet, how many earrings they wore on their earlobes, what kind of weapons were used then. There were some specific kind of ornaments which were made of coins that were used at the time. So a lot of that came out, from all the research, and the team went to many museums, pulled out a lot of information and photographs from there, scored through a lot of books to find out about Britishers, what rank, what regiment they are from. So each caste, each community would have a different buttu, a different style of draping. So we had to go all.
I would definitely love to talk about this one, Chiranjeevi Garu.
Right.
Very beautiful, very classy look. So can you please describe that?
So basically what we were trying to do is, apart from when he goes and fights the war, he's also part of his family, his community. He's a Palekar, and all the Palekars are kings in their own right.
Okay.
At one point all the actual kings and kingdoms faded out, and these people took over villages. So he had like probably 70 villages under him, and he was pretty much the king of that community, that belt, the Rayalaseema belt. So for him, so we decided to give it some richness. At the same time, we had to maintain our hues. We can't do anything too jazzy. We had to tone it down. So we did some unusual color combinations. We did a mustard and a very dull pinkish maroon. And those days, there were very few colors that one could see. Pretty much in the 1800s, there was a madder dye, which is like a deep maroonish red. And there was an indigo blue. So one was got from a herb and one was got from a legume. So with those colors, they would merge and mix and create floral designs and things like that.
Okay.
So, and even the floral designs and all this kind of design that you see, when the kings ruled, like for instance the Mughal emperors and like Babur for instance,
right.
When they were ruling, they would get artists to sketch all their beautiful flowers in the garden, which all the gardens that adorned the palace, they would make them sketch that.
Okay.
And from that concept, the flowers and what all prints we can add on to fabric came out. In fact, this idea on his cuff came from a statue. I told you we had very few references of zamindars and palekars to go with.
Right.
And one statue popped up in one of our searches. He was a palekar person, and he looked very regal, and I'm sure he must have been very famous at that time.
Okay.
But he had some absolutely beautiful detailing on his hand, cuff.
Okay.
So with fabric itself, they'd created that kind of a shape pattern, sticking out.
Right.
Like how we have our cufflinks and when we fold our cuffs.
Right.
That was this kind of style they had those days. So I decided to incorporate that into the sketch. And that classic Angarka style of kurta. And it's a double layer. A lot of them had double layers too. So they wear a plain, because the first layer is generally very heavy. They needed a simple cotton layer which would touch their body.
Right.
So but this layer would hurt them. It'll scratch and things like that.
Right.
So they had these kind of 2-layer detailing done. And all the men wore earrings at that time.
Okay.
And so they had all kinds of beautiful jewelry on them.
Okay.
So that's how this happened.
After watching the movie, you might have got many compliments. Can you just tell me 2 compliments which you got from this movie team?
Well, actually we were talking about this particular sketch, and one day Chiranjeevi sir walked into the office because he would obviously come to see what the progress is like and how we're doing, where have we come to in terms of our sketches. So he looked at all of this, and initially we were doing sketches for only the war looks, which were like very, so from this look, it becomes very toned down into a war look where they wore simpler fabrics. Because they're in the forest, they're fighting, they let go of all their gold and jewelry because now the cause has come to only one thing, freedom of the country.
Right.
So let's take on this rebellion and fight the British. So at that time they let go of everything that they didn't need at the time to look grand because they're living in the forest and things like that. So he walked in the office and he looked at me and said, "My God, Uttara, you make me look like a Maharaja."
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I don't know where to put my face. But yeah, I loved it when he said that, so that was nice.
Okay.
And at one time, I think on the set, Mr. Bachchan had also come and it was his shoot and I was introduced to him. And he looked at me and he said, congratulations, I've seen your sketches and they're wonderful.
Wow.
Great job.
Nice.
You know, because my interaction would stop at the styling level, that in that sense, you know. So it was nice to actually get these compliments from two of the biggest names in the industry.
You have worked for many movies. So what do you think? What is the difference between that, all movies which you have done earlier, and this movie which is an epic and which is from 18th century?
So first of all, it's a period film, and all what I worked with on now is all today, this day and age. At the most, we would have gone back to the 80s, but still it doesn't beat going back to the early 19th century. So in that sense, yeah, it's a huge difference in terms of even the workload and the people you have to manage, the number of people, the quantities you have to deal with. Which is huge. Rajivan created a beautiful workshop for us. It had about 20 machines with tailors, separate areas, workstations, cabins for us to work in, dressing rooms, shelves for storing fabric. So, and behind the workshop we had pots and pots of tea boiling all the time because we would dip all our fabric in tea to give it an aged, period look.
Okay.
And with all that happening, we pulled it off. So we were able to deliver 500 people's clothes the next day for the entire shot where they needed that many numbers.
Just in a day?
Overnight.
Overnight.
We would sit there till 3 a.m., order biryani, and then we would hang around with the tailors and any suggestions, tips they needed, anything to be corrected, help them with their stitching work. The tailors would sit, we would sit and get the job.
So here I am seeing a very beautiful picture of Nayanthara Garu. So can you please just explain what is this look about?
So this look was totally inspired by paintings from those days. So we scored through a lot of paintings, found some beautiful Ravi Varma paintings, and we said why not, because the painter Ravi Varma, what he would do, he would only paint women in his family. His grandmother, his grand aunt, his great grandmother.
Okay.
That's pretty much most of what he did, and that worked for us because it was the era that we were working in.
Right.
It was the period where we wanted to draw inspiration from. So we were like, okay, why not try a Ravi Varma painting on her just to see how that looks, you know. So we used a very traditional kind of detailing on her. It's a Kanchivaram silk sari, and those days the use of animals was a lot in their brocades and their zaris. You'll see peacocks, you'll see elephants, you'll see deer in most of their dressing. So that's what we did. And checks was very predominant then, large checks and velvets.
Okay.
So we used actually a velvet green blouse. So I was amazed to see that there was so much of a fashion sense then. Tribals would have a different style of draping.
So this is a tribal?
Yes.
Tribal?
Yeah, this is the Boya girl.
Boya girl, okay.
So there were two kinds of tribals in this film. One was a meat-eating tribal community,
Right.
and one was a nature-loving tribal community.
Right.
They lived off the forest, off the fruits and the seeds. These people were hunters, and so we wanted to show that difference, and we wanted to keep this community very typically tribal in that sense, you know.
Okay.
So these chains were very common in those days.
Oh.
The coins, it was made of coins, so they had coin chains. She's actually a bride. She's
Okay.
a bride getting married in the Boya community.
Oh.
Yeah, so we did this kind of a look for her,
Okay.
where all this chunky jewelry and all comes in, and all this detailing you see on the nose.
That
and
is
nails and everything.
that is what I was wondering, that okay, this is okay, but why is she putting all stickers?
Yeah,
so she's a
because
bride
she's the
now.
bride. She's getting
Okay.
married. Like this is Kicha Sudeep, for instance.
Uh-huh.
He is supposed to have a very unique role in the movie. His character is very unique.
Okay.
He's different from the rest of the Palayakars.
Okay.
He's very stylish,
Right.
and he stands out from the rest of the crowd. That was his brief, and he's got a lot of attitude.
Okay.
So we wanted to drape his look very differently. If you see, the hero has a look where the shawl comes down straight.
Right.
We did a drape like this for him, and I have to thank Gopi for this sketch, my concept artist, because at the end of it, I looked at it like, oh my God, what have you done? It's so cool. The colors are all perfect. And I gave him a look like this, but for him to actually do an extra detailing, that was him. It was beautiful for me to look at. So now I was like, how am I going to make sure that it's possible for somebody to drape this? So we did so many experiments till we got this exact drape.
Styling for 4 people is one level, and styling for all the people in the movie is the next level.
So when I came in, I had to style, like I said, styling and costume designing, there's a slight difference there.
Right.
So when I came in, I had to style the looks for the entire movie.
Okay.
And then we can hand it over to, so we had Anju Modi on board. I mean, I'm a big fan of the way she can dress up people. Her color sense is out of the world.
Okay.
And she's done Bajirao Mastani. And her color sense is fabulous. I mean, that's like another level, you know.
Right.
So when we had her on board, so you can imagine, then this movie has to be a hit.
Right.
There's no other way to go like it is
Right.
already. So, so when I did the movie, it was complete styling. And apart from the 4 main characters, I designed for the rest of the film as well with my team. So
Okay.
we sat and designed like his look, Vijay Sethupathiy's look. Vijay Sethupathi is a sensation. I mean,
Right.
everybody was so excited to just have him on board and just to meet him, you know.
Right.
And he was a Rajapandi. So he came from Tamil Nadu to Andhra to help the hero to fight the cause of freedom. So and he's an outlaw in the film. So he's left everything and come away with a team to fight against the British for our country. So we gave him just rags and Gada fabric, and we put big tiger tattoos on his body and everybody's body, his team. And we gave those moustaches that made them look very Tamil.
And what was his reaction at that point of time?
He's a very chilled out human being. He's very humble also. He'll be like, oh my God, I hope I'm not delaying the set. Or I hope I'm not, it's not because of me that anything could go wrong. He's very, very humble that way.
Okay.
A lovely person to have on set, and he's humorous.
Okay, so your first movie was with your brother Gautam Menon. So how was your experience? Because it was your first movie, and how does he support you?
So working with Gautam was a little interesting because he would not interfere with anything that anybody did.
Okay.
He would come just to direct the film. He knows he's placed the people that he wants to deliver from a particular department, and he would not go into their decisions at all. If something ever stood out awkwardly, he would definitely bring it up, but otherwise he would direct and go away.
After watching this movie, I think he's a proud brother that yes, this is my sister's work.
I'm sure, because he knows all the work that's gone into it, and I'm always telling him about what happened here and what happened there and how this happened, or I'm telling his wife and she's telling him. So he knows everything that's gone on in this film, and he's definitely happy that the movie is doing so well because of all the work that went into it.
Can you please tell us something about your upcoming projects as well?
Sure. Right now I'm doing one film. I just finished Gang Leader, and that got released. That happened right after Sye Raa.
Right.
So Gang Leader, I did the styling for Vikram K. Kumar. And after that, right now I'm doing a Malayalam project. We're also bringing in a very big actress back into the foray of cinema, so that's another big challenge for me.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for
And
the
who's
output of
that
that.
actress?
She's
Can you reveal?
she's Miss Shobana.
Oh my goodness,
Yes, so
okay.
she's coming back. So we're like working with her, and she's a perfectionist and a stylist herself.
Right.
I mean, she's a stylist and a perfectionist.
So
me working with her, I'm hoping that both our heads can come together and create a very good look for her. And she needs to stand out in this movie because she's coming back into this film scene. So I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. Pleasure having you on the show. And seriously, I just loved everything which you have done in the movie. Wish you all the very best for all your upcoming projects, and hope to see you soon again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.